Adversity is where we really become who we are. This quote by Tom Allen perfectly describes his football team in the 2020 season and entering the 2021 season. And today I'm going to run through briefly their schedule and why Indiana is not a team to sell on entering 2021, but rather a team to buy stock up on. This team's going to surprise people again. And just for starters, I do want to mention that the main reason behind this will be Michael Penix Jr. and Ty Freifogel, two great players returning on the offensive side of the ball that in modern college football just makes the most impact. These two are going to be the two guys that if Indiana does something huge, and I think they will be credited for that by everyone, and they will be well known after this upcoming amazing season. Indiana returns 17 starters, including the already mentioned Michael Penix Jr. and Ty Freifogel. They add DJ Matthews and others through the transfer portal to beef up their wide receiver core and offense, and they also return all American linebacker Micah McFadden. And all of these guys just played super well. Micah McFadden had 6 sacks and an interception. Ty Freifogel had an amazing 20 yards per average reception on the wide receiver position. And Michael Penix Jr., 14 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, 1,645 yards behind one of the worst offensive lines in the Big Ten, is something to, I'd almost say, boast about. This team is tough. This team is motivated, and I think Tom Allen's speech after the Ohio State game that went viral and what he said at Media Days really does prove that. This guy is cut to the chase. He's tough. He's energetic. And he's obviously found what works in Indiana. And I've compared him in previous videos to Mark D'Antonio entering MSU in the late 2000s. I think this guy is going to build up a great program from something that was really nothing or next to nothing before he arrived. And I understand some skepticism because 2020 was a weird year and all of that. And the fact that, Indiana faces teams like Michigan and Penn State who have massive crowds, and crowds weren't there last year. But I do want to run through something, and I'm going to go through the schedule, and I want to explain why this doesn't matter as much as you think it does. And Indiana starts out with what I think will be a loss to Iowa. They'll beat Idaho. They will beat Cincinnati, and I think that ties in with the fact that Cincy has they return a lot of starters, most of their starters. They do have a new DC in Mike Tressel, which I think is solid, but I think Indiana here is the better team. This game will be decided close to the flip of a coin, but I just think Indiana's the better team. Western Kentucky will be a win as well. So Indiana, before they get into the main October-November conference schedule, they'll be 3-1. And Tom Allen also mentioned something that I like, and he, instead of taking the Iowa game in a super serious, almost intimidated matter, he took it in a matter that said, this game will get us ready for the future games. That's what he said. He said that this early game, he was asked a question by a reporter about starting off against a Big Ten opponent, and he said that a game against a team like Iowa will get us ready sooner for the rest of the season. And I completely agree. Indiana will probably be to their 100% faster than a lot of other Big Ten teams. And Penn State, Indiana, pardon me. I mentioned Penn State because that's the next team on the schedule. Indiana is, I think, more confident in itself and less volatile, especially when it comes to momentum, than a team per se like Penn State or Michigan. And I take the 2020 season as an example of that. It's like, guys, I get why Indiana might be ranked lower than Penn State or even by some ranked lower than Michigan to start off next season. However, You look at Michigan and Penn State last year, and these teams, without their crowds, they were proven to be nothing without their crowds at home. And I think they'll have crowds. It'll be loud. It'll be intimidating. But you can win there. That's the difference. The crowds, the intimidation factor is the same, but teams now know they can win there. There's the noise, but there's no longer the indestructible symbolism of Beaver Stadium and of the Big House that there was entering 2020. People were still basing wins and losses off of home field advantage despite no crowds, including myself. And in retrospect, that was horrible. So I think Penn State will be a win for Indiana. And Michigan State will also be a win. And Ohio State is a game that we have to talk about a little bit on the schedule. And I say that because Ohio State is the team that Indiana will base its entire team around, basically. And that's not to say that they'll fall apart if this is a loss, or that they will definitely go undefeated and win the Big Ten championship and even compete in the playoff if that were to somehow happen, and I don't think it will. It's not to say that either extreme is going to become a reality here. What I'm saying is this team wants Ohio State. In that game last year, Tom Allen talked about it a little bit at media days, and he said that they were down, they were getting beaten up. This is just kind of an analogy, a summary of what he said. And he said, we got back up and we fought hard, and in truth, Indiana fought until the last play, at which point it was a 7-point game, and a miraculous Hail Mary touchdown would have tied it, or they could have went for 2 and even won it or lost it. And Ohio State is going to be that team who they don't return as much as Indiana does. Ohio State, depending on how their season's going, if they're not doing as well as they've done in opening games their last 2-3 years, they might enter this game a little unconfident. Not saying certainly, because Ohio State is a good team, but they might enter a little bit shaken, and Indiana is going to enter this game, I'd say no matter what state they're in under Tom Allen, they will enter 110% full force attempting to beat the Buckeyes. But in the end, because of talent reasons, Ohio State has some of the best coaching, development, and players in the country. I have to go with Ohio State here. Until the team actually throws Ohio State off, or until I see noticeable continuing decline under Ryan Day, and this year will help me see if that is possibly happening, I can't pick anyone to beat Ohio State, except for a surprise team. Like I picked a surprise team this year to beat Ohio State. And if you want to find out who that is, look for my Big Ten prediction video, and I'll link those down below in the description. Maryland will be a win. Michigan's the similar story to Penn State. You still have the large crowds, but that historical intimidation at the stadium has been disrespected and disdained from last year. And again, Indiana is so far the better team than Michigan, and I don't have much faith in Michigan. They don't deserve any hype. Despite the fact I do think they could surprise people, I'm not going to predict it until they actually do it. So this will be a win for Indiana, and from there they'll cruise on with Rutgers. Minnesota will be a close game, but the home field advantage, Indiana for now having the better quarterback, better wide receiver core, and certainly having the better defense will anchor this to be another win for them. And finally, Purdue. Purdue, no offense, is a team. They're like a wooden board covered in moss. They will buckle under just about any team besides, I believe, UConn and Oregon State on their schedule. This team will struggle to win a conference game or two. It's just how it is. I think this is Jeff Brom's last year, and it's more likely he'll be fired before any other head coach in the Big Ten is fired, to be honest with you. Indiana will finish 10-2. They will have 2 losses in conference, and they will finish second in the Big Ten East, in front of Penn State, in front of Michigan, Maryland, Rutgers, and Michigan State. It just is how it is. I think this team is looking for big things ahead of it. They have one of their best, if not their best, recruiting class ever, with 4 4-stars, including a top 100 recruit, number 52 in the country, according to 24/7 Sports Composite, in Dasan McCullough, who's being classified as a defensive end by 24/7 Sports. He's the star of their class. He flipped from Ohio State to Indiana due to family reasons, but he's still a great addition by Tom Allen and company. Again, I'm not saying Indiana's invincible. Obviously, with 2 losses, they're not. And they will at some point have a down year. You know, I say on the front, they're soaring like crypto, because they are. They're soaring like how Bitcoin has been in the past week, exploding, just continuously going up. But when Penix does graduate or leave, along with Ty Freifogel, this team will likely have a rebuilding year. This happens. It's happened under teams that don't have the greatest amount of talent, and even teams with talent. Indiana doesn't have the capacity right now to only reload when star players leave. They're not at that level yet, nor are they close to. I'm just saying, to cast last year's team and Tom Allen off as a one-year wonder, even if they don't win 10 games, is a huge, huge mistake for not just next year, but the future of Indiana football as long as Tom Allen is there. Thank you guys for watching this video. If you liked it, like, subscribe, hit that notification bell so you just get right on and watch my videos the second they come out, and comment your thoughts below. And one more thing before I leave. I'm thinking about adding video, like live video, either highlights or a recording of myself talking next to cover art, or some slides, something that's moving to keep your guys' attention, to satisfy some of you who want video. I'm thinking of implementing it and getting used to implementing it before the season begins so it can be a regular thing. Tell me, guys, what you think about that and what you think would be the best way to implement video for all of you so I can keep all of you happy and make my content even better. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you around.